Outside, the fog continued to caress the window, blanketing the fields beyond with murky white air. I heard a distant echo, wind being swept up again and again, like from the beating of vast leathery wings. "I understand if you feel like there's no use trying," Gladys replied, her face splitting into a malicious grin. "A nicer dress won't fix those bloated cheeks, and we both know your suitors only want you for father's money. Why, any one of them would probably murder you once it's in their hands. Better for you to end up a bitter old spinster. You'll be alone, but at least you'll be alive." Trembling with rage, I finally turned to face her. "Perhaps you will be no less alone. Perhaps your poor husband will kill himself once he's realized what a shrew he's married." Gladys's eyes widened. "What an awful thing to say!" She looked ready to retort with something just as mean, but our coach suddenly jolted to a violent halt, nearly jerking us from our seats. "What happened?" Gladys asked, making no attempt to investigate. As I opened the window and stuck my head out, I felt the cold caress of night. The horses, Bastian and Badger, were stationary. Our driver had climbed down into the mud and was in the process of tying them to a tree beside the road. "Mr. Stevens," I called, "is something wrong?" He turned around to look at me. He was a portly man, whose large eyes made him appear perpetually bewildered. "Apologies, milady," he said. "A carcass is blocking our path." I looked past him and saw a large dead cow lying in the middle of the road. It looked impossible to circumvent. The horses whined, obviously restless. "Strange, really," Mr. Stevens said as he approached the carcass. "I'm not aware of any nearby cattle farms." I too was perplexed. To the left and right of the road there was naught but tall grass and the occasional tree. Where had this cow come from? "Be careful, sister," Gladys called. "You might fall out, and then we'll never get you off the ground." "Hush, Gladys," I hissed. Mr. Stevens grasped the bovine by the horns and pulled with all his might. "Won't take long." I hoped he was right. Heavy grey clouds churned above us, and the air was freezing against my skin. I sensed movement in the corner of my eye. Rain? I looked up and saw something drifting down like a great black veil, preparing to shroud us in a greater darkness. I could not see it clearly. Its shape was obscured by the clouds, but the dark thing fell faster and faster until suddenly it was upon us, swooping like an owl. In the blink of an eye, Mr. Stevens vanished. Startled, I attempted to make sense of what I just witnessed. It didn't make sense for something to pull Mr. Stevens into the sky. Surely he had simply hidden himself, behind the bovine perhaps. But then I heard screaming from above and saw a figure fall from the sky, only to crash into the field beside us with a dull thud. The screaming stopped. The blood drained from my face. I heard a great rumble of thunder. "Mr. Stevens?" I tried to shout, but my voice was scarcely more than a whisper. The sky flashed with distant lightning, and in that split second I saw the dark shape again, circling above us like a vulture. Bastian and Badger whinnied and tried to pull away from the tree, to no avail. "Gladys," I whispered, staring up at the churning darkness, "there's something up there." "What?" Her voice was loud and shrill. "Morena, I can't hear you." I couldn't take my eyes off the dark shape. It was too large to be a bird or a bat, large enough to lift a grown man into the sky. I pulled my head back into the coach. There's something up there, and I think it just killed our driver. Gladys's eyes widened, more from confusion than fear. "I don't understand. Mr. Stevens is gone? We're stranded?" "We can't be stranded," I said, my voice trembling. "We can't stay here." A scream of pain erupted from somewhere nearby. I gasped, "It's Mr. Stevens. He's alive." While I didn't want to leave the coach, we couldn't remain here and wait to be attacked. I opened the door and scampered into the grass, hoping the creature wouldn't see me.